Hotties Restaurant in Saratoga Springs, New York is legendary. They are an East Coast restaurant famous for serving classic Southern food and award-winning fried chicken.
Indeed.
Hattie's co-owner, Jasper Alexander, the other co-owner is in the other side of the studio right now, is here to make blackened skirt steak, which is featured in a brand new cookbook. First time to Nashville. We welcome you to Nashville and everything. And thank you for taking over the kitchen. I want to talk about the cookbook and the history of Hattie's in just a moment.
Absolutely.
But go ahead and get us started on this recipe here.
So this is a great recipe for skirt steak, and which has a lot of flavor already. Has got nice marbling. And what you want to do, we take a blackening spice, which we make at the restaurant, but you can also buy. There's lots of good commercial ones on the market. And you want to spread a little bit of butter across that steak and really get it worked in there, because that's really what's going to help it smoke and give it that charred crust.
Now, what kind of butter is that?
This is a smoked tomato butter. So we've got softened butter. We make a tomato powder. If you can't get tomato powder, you can also get a concentrated tomato paste in the grocery store, which works just fine. A little bit of liquid smoke, and then salt and pepper and a few herbs just to round it out. And then you want to liberally dress that steak with the spice mixture and let it sit on there. And you can let this sit on there for 10-15 minutes ahead of time. Let it sort of soak in there.
Yeah.
And then the key is a really screaming hot cast iron pan. And we're not going to do that today because I think it's going to smoke up the whole studio, and we don't want to do that. So if you do it at home, be forewarned, turn your fan on. But what you do is you get that pan really hot, and even in a dry pan or just with a little bit of oil, you lay that steak in there, and it's going to smoke up, and it's going to give that steak a really nice char with a little bit of spice on it. Really bring out the flavor of the steak, and it sort of oozes into the fat and the marbling, and really makes for a luscious steak.
And so we'll cook that for how long?
About 2 or 3 minutes on each side. Skirt steak is typically fairly thin, so you don't need to cook it a very long time. And you just want to make sure you cut it across the grain of the meat too. That's another key. Like flank steak and brisket, you always want to go across the grain so it shortens up those fibers and makes it really tender.
We'll show the final product here in a moment, but again, that's one of the recipes in the cookbook here.
Absolutely.
And the Hotties Restaurant is a legendary restaurant. Been in operation for nearly 80 years?
Nearly 80 years. 1938, Hattie Mosley opened the restaurant, and it's been running continuously ever since. My wife and I have owned it for the last 17 years, and we're really most known for the fried chicken. About 50% of the people that walk into the restaurant have fried chicken, something which you guys all know a lot about down here. And it's been a blast. I mean, we have a racetrack in town. There's a lot of tourism that comes into the town, and it's really a part of the community. It's an institution beloved by both locals and tourists alike. And
so you and your wife have been running it now, you said, for how long?
About 16 years.
About 16 years?
Yep. We've been there, and it's been fantastic. We've had such a wonderful experience in Saratoga. And the cookbook's the latest addition to the accolades. We were approached to write it a few years ago, and took a little while to get it together, but here it is, and it's been great. It's it's a restaurant cookbook, but we really tried to make it accessible for the home cook. And any of the recipes that are more complicated, which of course some restaurant recipes are, we've really sort of demystified it and made it a real conversational tone, so that it's approachable for everybody. And it's anything from the fried chicken to frog legs, which you're showing now, to the skirt steak, coleslaws and hush puppies, and
So frog legs go over pretty well in New York?
They do. They do. Absolutely.
All right, let me ask you this too. Now, some of the recipes you have tweaked, but that fried chicken recipe dates back to the very beginning of the restaurant.
Fried chicken recipe has been the same for 80 years. Collard greens have been the same. We're blessed with a wonderful staff at Hattie's, and a staff that's remained since the entire time we've been there.
Awesome.
And so a lot of those recipes were transferred to us orally from the employees that have been there forever, and that's that's one of the reasons why it's stayed true to what it is.
This is the final product there, and boy, does that look very good.
It's beautiful.
You will find the recipe on our website at newschannel5.com. You will also find it in the Hattie's Restaurant Cookbook. There's a well-known restaurant here, Hattie B's. No relation, but you'll find this cookbook wherever cookbooks are sold.